Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Up-Beet Dietitians podcast.
Hello, guys. Welcome back to part 3 of our Enneagram series, third and final part. If you missed the last 2 weeks' episodes, I think you will be best off if you listen to those before listening to this, because we are going to be going into Enneagrams 5 through 9 today and discussing how those may be impacting your relationship with food. In part 1 of the series, we went into our own Enneagram, just talking about our personalities, basically. Last week, we covered Enneagrams 1 through 4 and how those perhaps can impact your relationship with food. And today is Enneagrams 5 through 9, which Emily and I both fit within. So it's going to be a little bit personalized today. We'll see how that goes.
I'm excited.
Me too.
It'll be good. So, disclaimer before we go into this, we are not Enneagram experts. We are dietitians, we're nutrition experts, not Enneagram experts. Everything we're about to talk about, we are just speculating, but we're going to kind of discuss, if you're this Enneagram type, what type of disordered eating habits you might exhibit.
Yeah. Let's do a quick rundown of what these Enneagrams are. And then we're going to go into each of them individually. So type 5 is known as the investigator. Type 6 is the loyalist. Type 7 is the enthusiast. Type 8 is the challenger, which is Emily. And type 9 is the peacemaker, which is what I am. So let's start with type 5, shall we?
Let's get into it. So the investigator, I don't remember what we mentioned about them in the past.
I was trying to think. I was like working on this outline. I don't think I know any 5s, honestly. But yeah, I don't remember what we talked about either in like the first week when we kind of did the overview. I really don't know a whole lot about the 5s, although I did kind of learn a little bit when I was doing this research, and we can speculate as we have been the last 3 weeks.
Yes. Yeah. But the 5s, they're kind of described as being insightful, curious, intense, and independent. And the Enneagram Institute actually states like these are some potential flaws that they might exhibit when under distress. And theirs are often exhibited as like poor eating and sleeping habits due to minimizing needs, neglecting hygiene and nutrition, lack of physical activity, and potentially psychotropic drugs for mental stimulation and escape, narcotics for anxiety. So it seems like a lot of like negligence is like,
yeah,
like it's just kind of like avoidant tactics almost. And then like utilizing potentially external
like
stimulator, for feeling something.
Yeah, how I kind of interpreted it is like they're in their own little world a lot of times, maybe like they're just very like in a train of thought thinking about things. And this can lead to them like forgetting to eat and skipping meals because they just get so stuck in their head with stuff. Or maybe they are the ones who, on the flip side, do like a lot of like distracted eating, like just like mindlessly eating some chips or whatever, because they're just like thinking or doing whatever. And they're just kind of doing that like mindless hand to mouth kind of thing because they just get so stuck in their thoughts.
Yeah. It's almost like a disassociation tactic with food, whether it's like lack of presence of food or like very strong presence of food being utilized to potentially suppress some feelings.
Yeah.
But I think I agree. It's like constantly in their head, which is not a bad thing. It's just they're always thinking. And
yeah. I was reading the celebrities at the Institute list for this one, and it was things like, or people like Albert Einstein was an example. So that makes sense. I think it's just like really intellectual, smart people who are just always thinking very deeply. And so food is just not always their first priority, basically.
Yeah. Going to that minimizing needs and neglecting self-care.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
That's all I really have for this one. Again, I don't know any 5s, I don't think. And I feel like that is probably just the biggest issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ross, no, this is we were saying Ross was a 3.
I think he's a 3. I was getting a hint of 5 when I was like doing this research. He doesn't get very in his head, but I don't think he's a 5.
let's move on
Ooh, wait, did
to,
you have Bobby do it yet? Has he feeling better?
I have not, he is feeling better. I've not had him do it. I think he's a 7.
I think he's a 7 too. Okay, we'll get
I
to
like,
sevens.
and I feel like he's a wing 8, like a strong wing 8.
I could totally see that. I don't think he's
Yeah.
a wing 6, which let's go into wing 6.
Yes.
So Enneagram 6 is the loyalist. This person is cautious, indecisive. They might struggle with self-doubt and suspicion. And the Enneagram Institute, like Emily mentioned, they have like their description of things they might struggle with. They call it addictions on the Institute website, which we don't love because we don't think food addiction is necessarily a thing. But anyway, what they say for sixes is, quote, rigidity in diet causes nutritional imbalances. Quote, in the quote, I don't like vegetables would be something they might say. Working excessively, caffeine and amphetamine for stamina, but also alcohol and depressants due to deaden anxiety, higher susceptibility to alcoholism than many types. So I kind of like got like picky eater vibes or like very indecisive eater vibes. Like they maybe know what
Yeah.
foods they feel comfortable with and maybe are a little bit nervous to expand their palate.
Yeah. Definitely like skeptical and not quick to like jump into something, especially with food, at
Yeah.
least. Yeah. I feel like it's just like a very, I don't want to say timid, but just like maybe I'm going with skeptical, just like very conscious about their choices, not going to jump straight into something. So when it comes to food, they know what they like
Yeah.
and they'll
Which isn't
potentially
always a
stick to it a
bad
little bit more.
thing.
No.
Like talking about disordered eating, I don't know if I'd classify quote picky eating as like disordered. Of course it can be if it goes into like ARFID territory, of course, then it would be
I was going to say,
definitely
yeah.
disordered. So definitely, I guess now that I say that, it definitely could become that, but there's plenty of picky eaters, so to speak, who aren't disordered eating. They just know what they like and so they want to eat those things.
It's when it becomes a little bit more obsessive and starts to inhibit your quality of life.
Yeah.
That's
I
when the
feel
red
like
flags start showing up.
I feel like 5 and 6 in terms of food are not quite as extreme as like our Enneagrams from last week. Last week was a
Yeah.
bit intense for like anorexia and like over
Yeah.
exercise, super intense stuff. And today it's like, oh, you don't like vegetables? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Much more tame,
Yeah.
not as like polarizing, which is probably good from their standpoint. Maybe they're more level headed people.
I mean, you got the sixes, they're thinking about stuff, they're cautious, skeptical. That's not always a bad thing.
Yeah. And then the other people are just constantly in thought
Yeah, exactly.
and pondering whatever it is they do.
Yeah, I don't really know what Einstein was so busy pondering, but I guess it was making him a
Light
scattered eater.
electricity. He was
Was he
neglecting
electricity?
self-care. Yeah, wasn't
Uh, I don't know.
I
You're probably right. I have literally no
was
idea.
gonna say history was one of my worst subjects, so
Me
I
too.
don't really feel confident in anything regarding
I
history.
literally know E equals MC squared, but I have no idea what that means. Is that the
I
electricity thing?
no, I think that has to do with God. This is
I'm
really bad
embarrassed. We're
for
dietitians.
I'm pretty sure it has to do with gravity.
Yes.
Hold on,
Yes.
we need to look this up right now because we cannot continue in our lives. Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity that expresses the fact that matter and energy can be changed into each other. What?
Yeah, of course.
So M is mass and
Okay.
C is the speed of light equals kinetic energy E. Totally.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's a good
Okay,
thing we
now
didn't
I
have to take
feel,
physics as dietitians.
yeah, thank God. Now I feel less guilty for not knowing because I still don't get what that means.
Luckily, we don't have to deal with that.
No, I bet I can go the rest of my life without ever having to know that equation or like use it in any way.
Nope.
Which thank God for that. I know we have our regrets sometimes, but at least we don't have to do that.
Yeah, that is true. We avoided that. scary time.
Yeah.
Ugh. Well, it's been a pretty chill episode so far. I feel like it's about to get a little bit more wild. It'll definitely get a little wilder with ours, at least.
I am excited for yours, especially.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for yours. Okay, let's
talk
do
about 7 though.
Potential Bobby.
I think I'm going to make him do it tonight because we've been talking about it for now like 3 weeks.
Week 3.
He was sick during week 1 and he no longer has an excuse. So we'll find out tonight and I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know next week on whatever. What is our next episode after this? Oh, it might be a guess. The next time it is just us, I will let you guys know what type he is. But type 7 is the enthusiast. They are extroverted, scattered, and distracted, which is very much Bobby. But the Enneagram Institute describes their potential problems being these type are most prone to addictions, such as like stimulants with caffeine, cocaine, and amphetamines, ecstasy, psychotropics, narcotics, and alcohol, but tend to avoid other depressants. They may wear their body out with effort to stay quote unquote up, and excessive cosmetic surgery might be something they participate in, or painkiller usage. Very extreme.
They definitely these addiction like categories in the institute, they definitely go all the way.
They don't miss anything. They're like, we're going to include everything.
They're like, if you are hooked on ecstasy, it's definitely because you're an Enneagram 7.
Yep.
There's no way around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know a 7 aside from Bobby. And the biggest thing is, of course, the FOMO. Like, they're the kind of person who wants to try one of everything. They might overestimate their hunger, leading to them eating past fullness consistently. They're the kind of person when getting ice cream, like they'll have the vanilla, the chocolate, and the strawberry. They want to try everything. The other 7 that I know, I could see her relating to this next piece where they easily feel like they're deprived. Like they always are like wanting more. Like they might feel like they're the kind of person who has a sugar addiction, quote unquote, but they really just really enjoy like tasty, delicious foods. Like it's fun for them and they're like all about the fun and the excitement. And so the friend that I have who's definitely a 7, she's always talking about how she's like addicted to sugar. She like loves sweets. And I think it's just because she loves like fun foods and like tasting and like that next piece, like constant stimulation, like that's a really big part of it too. Like they always need to be like doing something with their hands and their mouth and their brains. She's always talking.
I feel like it's like they have to be like in it with that like FOMO part. Like either they can't like will not be observing, they will be involved or participating in some way, especially when it comes to food. They don't want to miss out on anything.
Does Bobby do any of these things like food wise?
I think he feels like the FOMO with the like wanting to eat everything, because he like is not a picky eater, which is great. I appreciate that. But then he's like, oh my gosh, there's so many things that I want to try all of them, and it like gets a little stressful.
Well, good thing you guys are in Chicago where there's always something new to be eating.
Yes. Yep. Well, you will never get bored here. So that is good for that. But yeah, I think it's the constant stimulation, the film, like really bring it together very well, where it's like, just going, needing to know everything that's happening, being involved, which I appreciate their enthusiasm.
Oh, I could never be a 7. I'm kind of jealous of 7s. They're always just like so high energy and ready to go and do whatever. They're up for anything.
Yeah.
I'm a little envious. I love that for them. They're very extroverted is kind of the main takeaway there.
I think I'm a wing 7.
I could see that.
This is like kind of a spoiler because we've talked about it in our episode, the first one where we just talked about our Enneagrams. But I think I'm definitely more like, it makes more sense that I'm a 7.
I think you're a 7. You like to
and a
like go out
9.
and do things and explore.
Yeah. This past weekend, actually, I always get in my head because I just don't like going outside because it's like, it feels like an effort. But then I like hang out with people. I'm like, oh, yes, I forgot that.
I
Like,
like this.
this is like really good for my mental health. And this really changes my mood. I forgot how much I like people. It's just the getting here part is what I don't enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. Which it's hard to say if that's even like Enneagram related. Maybe that's just like you're tired because life is
It
hard.
could be that I am unwell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's more that.
Well, that's a great segue into number 8, which I think, of course, you should definitely describe this one.
I'm excited to talk about this, but also
Tell them what you commented on our.
I was
on our
reading the
outline.
outline today and I was reading through it. I literally commented, this entire section is a personal attack because everything I was reading, I was like, this is a bit too familiar.
I was typing it out when I was researching and I was like, oh man, this is going to make her either, I don't know. I feel like, like 8 is very self-aware. Like, all
the
these
thing is, I hate
things.
it. I am very self-aware, but
Yeah.
I'm also incredibly self-sabotaging, which like checks out very much with what we're about to go over. So type 8s, as a refresher, is a challenger. They're known to be like self-reliant, protective, and assertive. And the Enneagram Institute states their potential problems might be ignoring right off the bat.
I mean,
ignoring
immediately
physical needs and problems. And I'm like, all right, let's calm down here already.
Rude.
They may avoid medical visits and checkups. They might indulge in rich foods, alcohol, tobacco while pushing themselves too hard, which could lead to high stress, strokes, and heart conditions. They have control issues. They're control issues central. And potentially through alcoholism and narcotic addictions. And I can say at least I don't have those.
You're good there. Yeah.
I'm okay at the end. Half of the end.
Yeah.
Control
and no
issues
tobacco
are prevalent.
either.
No. Luckily, one of the biggest things is I don't want to say cheap, but there are some things I'm very like refuse to spend money on.
Yeah.
And that is a category of it.
Same.
But the like ignoring physical needs and problems and then pushing yourself too hard, which will lead to more stress.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's fine. I don't treat my body well. And I'm aware, but I just think of doing
I
it.
just think of like you and dairy is like my first thought. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, we'll just constantly.
I'm literally like, I'll deal with it later. I'll be fine. And this reminded me of like way back when we talked about like our disordered eating history, how like my main form of disordered eating was binge eating, which like, and I would do it to literally like put my body in a state of pain to suppress my stress and thoughts.
Yeah.
So
this tracks.
I hope some other fellow eights. Well, I hope you're not relating to this at all. I hope you have a very peaceful life. But if you are experiencing this, I see you and I hear you, and we're in this together.
The part where it says may have strong cravings for foods that leads to overindulgence as their passionate energy meets their intense cravings. I was thinking about when you were vegan for a day and then we ate all the dessert at the dining court.
Even a day. It was between meals.
You were vegan for 2 hours.
I was literally like, I'm going to be vegan. And then we went to Windsor Dining Hall and they had cinnamon rolls. And I was like, you know what? Not today.
We had your fun. Yeah.
Yeah. But the very aware of their own urges and desires checks out. You also include fear of being rejected and builds up their ego to protect themselves. So they'll do whatever they want to hide their disordered eating habits. Also very much checks out because no one knew. Oh, in the peak of the disorder, no one knew what was happening. Yeah. But also I'm very good at lying and hiding things. because I experienced a lot of shame. So this is just a good reflection period. Nothing I didn't know, but it's nice to get called out.
Yeah. At least we know you're definitely an 8 based on this.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely an 8. Do you feel like back to like the 7, do any of those feel relatable to you since you might be a wing 7 or probably are a wing 7?
I think I definitely experienced the FOMO with food.
I was gonna say.
I will be someone that will get a little bit of everything, and then I will be halfway through my plate and be full, but I will continue to eat because I'm like, one, I can't miss out on this. Two, probably the Clean Plate Club is still somewhere in the back of my mind, despite years of trying to not do that anymore.
Yeah.
But I think that was the biggest thing. I don't think I need constant stimulation. I can, as we talked about with my lack of inner monologue and lots of reflection recently, I realized I'm very okay just sitting and existing. And
oh my gosh.
anything.
If you guys aren't part of our bonus segment, we talked about if Emily and I have inner monologues or not. And you have to listen to that if you want to hear. But the next day, Emily texted me like, I don't think I have one. I've been thinking about it a whole bunch. I don't think I have an inner monologue.
Yes.
So she's been really reflecting on this.
Yes. A lot of reflection has been happening recently, which has been fun because I've never thought about things like that. So it's good to think about new things.
I'm also very excited for your answer today for our bonus question. Today is just so silly. I'm so excited.
I feel like my answer is going to be a little bit depressing, but when do we not bring in childhood trauma?
Yeah.
So you guys will just we'll have to listen.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's
any other thoughts? Okay. Any other thoughts on Enneagram?
I've done enough self-reflection for today.
My turn.
Yes. We'll talk about you now.
I was, again, I felt very similar to the personal attack that you said when I was writing this, and I was like attacking myself basically. So to recap, the 9 is the peacemaker, which is what I am. This person's very go with the flow, complacent, simplifies and minimizes problems. The everything is fine, like the dog in the fire meme. That's an Enneagram 9 in a nutshell.
Yes.
The Enneagram Institute states, quote, overeating or undereating due to lack of self-awareness and repressed anger, lack of physical activity, depressants and psychotropics, alcohol, marijuana, narcotics to deaden loneliness and anxiety. Oof. I mean,
it's so intense.
It's so intense. Thankfully, this is like when you're like the shell of a human, like with the different levels, which
that's true. That's like, isn't that level 9?
I think so.
Which neither of us have gotten there, luckily.
If you do, you're a murderer. So
I was gonna say you'll know. Well, or maybe you won't. Maybe you won't. No, I told you I would let you know. At least if I were to kill Bobby.
Which as a 9 is my nightmare, but I gotta do what I gotta do as your best friend.
Yeah.
I'll take one for the team. Though. My wing 8 will come out and I'll be good.
There we go. Yeah.
I don't know. I just based on this part, I don't relate too much with that description. I sometimes will struggle with under eating, mostly just because I get distracted and I just like truly do forget sometimes. And then I end up overeating later because I get too hungry. Or like Ross and I have very different eating styles. So like I'm more of like a grazer throughout the day and he's more of like 3 solid meals. So if we do ever like spend the whole day together doing like house projects or out and about or whatever, sometimes I will end up getting a little bit over hungry and then overeat later to kind of compensate. But other than that, I don't really relate to that part too much. The physical activity, I don't relate to a whole lot. I enjoy physical activity, but these next descriptions, I definitely can relate to a lot more. So 9s can be very out of touch with what their body like wants and needs, their instincts, their impulses. So that kind of relates to the hunger and fullness thing where we can't really recognize our hunger and fullness cues, which again, I don't know anymore that I struggle with that. But I do identify with this next piece, which is that sometimes we don't know what we want to eat. Like I am definitely a partner who is like, what do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? Like I'm not going to make the decision, because what if it's the wrong decision and then that person's not getting what they want to be eating and they're not enjoying themselves? Like I don't want to make that choice. So I definitely relate to that piece. The next part is about how like nines don't really show their anger. They don't express it outwardly. We tend to like suppress it inwardly. So nines might use food to like numb themselves instead of like just expressing what they're feeling, because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings ever, because that would just be the end of the world. We also, this one's very true for me, may not really know their own food preferences. They may just eat based on what others are eating. Like, I'll have what she's having, kind of
It
thing.
checks out when we eat together.
Yeah.
And
And
every
it's
single bonus question.
The bonus questions are like completely giving me away with all this. As I've gotten older, I've started to learn more about my own food preferences, but I can definitely say like until I like moved out on my own with Ross and like lived on my own, I would just like eat. Like I didn't really make any choices there. Like either my parents would feed me, of course, or like at college, the dining courts, going out to eat. I do tend to just like get what others get a lot of times. Although again, I've gotten better about that. I had like the hardest time getting groceries for myself when I first started buying my own food, like sophomore through senior year of college, because I had no idea like what foods I liked or wanted to cook. So again, that's gotten easier because I have like tried different things and now I'm starting to like learn what I like, but I definitely had no idea at first. And so I was like eating food I didn't actually like, but that was also probably related to disordered eating as well. And I had to only eat, chicken, broccoli, and rice every day for the gains.
The gains.
The
Yeah.
gains. And then the last point I have here is because us nines will a lot of times minimize problems, like, oh, it's fine. Um, People like me may struggle to ask for help for disorder eating recovery because it's fine. Everything's fine. It's totally normal.
And the like conflict avoidance.
Oh yeah. And like we hate the spotlight. Like I don't like going to the doctor because I don't like talking about myself. Having a podcast is a bit of a trip because it's just talking about myself a lot.
Yeah.
It's not great. So that's definitely for sure a thing, like why we may not seek out help, because then the spotlight would be on us.
It seems very much like minimizing your own needs to make sure everyone else is okay and neglecting your own care.
Oldest child things.
Another part that has to play a part in it.
Yep.
We cannot ignore that fact.
It's nature and nurture for sure.
Yes.
Well, there you have it, guys. A little bit of
That's the Enneagrams.
This has been interesting. This is our first time doing something like this. I kind of liked it. We
Yeah.
will have another 3-part series actually coming up in a couple months. Should we tell them or just wait?
We can wait.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But we could wait.
Okay. We'll surprise you guys. More series to come.
It's something not personality test related, but
No.
it
It's
is
not
a
similar to
fun
this.
series that we're excited for. Yeah. I'm excited for it.
But if you guys
It'll
do
be
like this, we mentioned last week that we totally could do more personality test stuff. Just like even talk about our own personality tests.
Yeah. And deep dive into that, what that says about us.
That's what we need, right? Is just to keep diagnosing each other with our issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Ugh. That's a fun time.
It's a fun time.
Keeps us entertained. And we said this during the last episode, but I want to say it again. If you are one of these Enneagram types and something we said like is a completely different experience you had, disordered eating or just like personality wise, that doesn't invalidate your experience anymore. This is just us speculating and taking whatever nutrition and disordered eating knowledge we have and applying it to Enneagrams.
Yeah. just for funsies, like we've said this whole time. I like how you said that. It does not invalidate anything you're feeling. And like we both said, like we don't maybe fully relate to every single part of what we even talked about with our Enneagrams. It's just some pieces might make a little bit of sense now that you know what these Enneagrams might be going through.
Well, we hope you guys had a great time. Be sure to check out this bonus question because I'm like a little nervous and scared. But also, I already know my answer. It's going to be depressing. I feel like Hannah's is going to be depressing because that's just who
How
we
we think of
are.
ourselves. Yeah.
It shows, yes, what we think of ourselves. And
You'll have to just see. It'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be good. But thanks for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Otherwise,
bye, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in on this episode of the Up-Beet Dietitians with your hosts, Emily Krause and Hannah Thompson.
We appreciate you all so much for continuing to support us. In order to support us and sustain the success of this podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review.
If you'd like to provide us feedback for future episodes and guest stars, follow us on Instagram at the Up-Beet Dietitians.
Lastly, you can show us support by providing a monthly donation using the link at the end of our bio.
Once again, thank you so much for listening today, and stay tuned next Wednesday for a new episode. Until then, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.